This is our round two because we connected in San Diego. We were coming from different parts of the country, and would-be episode had a lot of lessons learned. So we are here doing it on this platform. So welcome, my friend Amaadi. And
Thank
I appreciate you doing this again with me. There's so many things that I want to be mindful to dig into a little bit as we talk, because and that was one of the things in the lesson learned, that I didn't have a follow up on some things. Some things I already had data points because we're friends, but as a listener, they're not going to have those data points. So that's one of the things with friends that I want to be mindful of. So let's just get into it. And in terms of your journey, what would you say is the pivotal moment for you, or one of them, that initiated your conscious spiritual journey?
um hmm. I would probably say there were many of them, but one I would say that stands out a lot. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but in undergraduate school, I had to take a human development psychology class, and we had to write a paper. And I was just trying to think, did we pick the topic? And I'm thinking we had to pick the topic based on the topic I chose. And it was a 10-page paper that I wrote, of course, the night before, and killed it. And it was a 10-page metaphor about my relationship with my father and the romantic partners that I choose and the correlation between the two. Um, and I'm like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? So I would probably say that might be definitely a very deep reflection within on how I have been continued to be impacted by my father's presence and or absence in my life. And in order to dig that deep, there has to be a certain level of consciousness. Um, so I would probably say that I was maybe 18. I was 18 years old.
Wow. Yeah, no, we hadn't had this conversation.
Yeah.
That is deep. Um, Tell me more about that. What were your correlations, if you can share, and and if it still impacts you?
Well, we all know, you and I at least, we know that when we are aware of something, it's just a little bit easier to either manage or cope with or any of those words. And so because I'm aware, I can pivot and or sit or identify many things. But Cliff Notes version, there is a big like boulder rock, like a big mound, if you will, in the distance, and I can see it. And part of it is exposed, and most of it is covered in water. And that's my goal. That's the target. I'm trying to get to the mound, but I have to walk through quicksand to get to the mound. And along the way, where the path of quicksand is, are trees where the branches kind of like come down, and the branches are to help me, hold on as I walk through um, that path of quicksand to get to the mound. But every time I reach for a branch, it breaks. And I reach for another branch and it breaks. I mean, I'm still moving forward, but it's like I have to almost be strategic about it because it's going to break. And if I ponder too long, I'll sink in the quicksand. And my revelation was these branches are the men that I choose in my life as a romantic partner, and the mound is my father.
Wow. It's clear that that's life journey stuff.
Yeah.
Where does the spiritual impact or the consciousness of like inner self development and knowledge of self come in? A little deeper on that.
Well, I think the fact that I was not on solid ground was an indication that I have a part to play in that, and I have to
Mm.
take accountability and responsibility for how I'm going to move forward, how I'm going to achieve, how I'm going to choose a partner. So I think there's a lot of responsibility in that paper that I wrote, self responsibility and accountability, and not blame and not judgment, just observation through the lens of metaphors. Spiritually, I think at that age, I don't think I was using the word spiritual. I wasn't
Mm.
thinking from the lens of um, how can I apply this. I think it was just, oh wow, here's this thing. I think that's where I was at the time. Now, that this is years later. I won't tell you how many years later as I sit here, but I've, learned to meet my inner child. I've learned to play with my inner child. I've learned to protect and honor my inner child, and recognize when she wants to come out and express herself in not so healthy ways. Um, and sometimes I actually honor that wish and allow it. Um, so I just think um, recognition is definitely the first step. And that's, I think, what I took all those years ago.
The thing that had popped into my head was the way we do one thing is the way we do all things. So when you're describing the quicksand, the boulder, holding onto the branches, in your reflection, have you been able to see how those things impact other areas of your life, not specific to partners, intimate relationships?
I would say it's a little different. I would say it's a bit more precious. I would say that it's a little more nuanced, a little more complicated, less straightforward. I would probably say that there are other areas of my life I don't have to think. It just, like, I just call it a download, call it just, I just know how to do it. I don't have to sit with it. I don't have to observe and then respond. There's some parts of my life where it's like turn right, turn left, go straight, stop, wait 5 seconds, turn around, go this way, cross the lake. But then you've got the situation of the inner child. I'm like, okay, breathe, sit with it. Okay, this is why we were triggered. Let's not project, you know. So I would say this might be an exception in one of the corners of my being that's different.
When did you meet your inner child? When did you acknowledge her?
That's a great question. Um, when did I acknowledge her? Wow, that's a great question. Um, you know, it's funny because you know how we have like internal dialogue, and sometimes the internal dialogue there's no language. It could just
Mm.
be feeling. It could just it's like we have this internal dialogue that doesn't necessarily require speech, that
Hmm.
can't necessarily be translated into an earthly language. And I think this is why this might be a tricky question to answer because I think I've always acknowledged her without knowing that I was acknowledging her, but I would say um, out loud acknowledged her maybe within the past 10 years, like out
Mm-hmm.
loud. But I've had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of internal dialogue and reflection of where is this coming? Oh, this is where it's coming. This is coming from her at this age without me saying it out loud.
When you say you invite her to come out and play, or she wants to come out and play, how is that discovered? And how do you do that? And does it feel silly? And if it does, when did that become a practice so that you got past the silliness? So a little bit more on your relationship with inner child, because there's a lot of talk about doing work and communicating with your healing your inner child, but what is that really like?
Interacting with the inner child?
Hmm.
Um, well, it depends. It's
Whatever you want to share.
yeah, I think these are great questions. Sometimes you're holding space as if it's, you know, a friend physically sitting next to you and you're just holding space for them. Sometimes you are the bodyguard and you push her out of the way and you take up for her. Sometimes it's you're giving her a hug and making her feel secure, safe, seen. Sometimes you're like, if you don't go sit down somewhere, I got this. Like, we good. I got you. You know. Sometimes you get sassy with her. The range. The range is if it's another person. I think it just depends on the trigger, and that's the thing I'm trying to actively practice.
Mm.
Having a relationship without there being a trigger for her to come up.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because that's almost like a trauma bond if you think of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I ask also about the silliness of or feeling like I'm crazy when I'm talking to my inner child, which is why I ask. I'm like, I know that I'm not the only one, but in that initial process, I felt silly and like ridiculous. Like, what am I doing? I'm imagining myself as a child or little me, and I'm asking for direction or guidance or something that is part of the healing process. Um, and so that's why I ask.
Mm,
And even now, I have to say, sometimes I feel uncomfortable, like how far to go. And as I work with Merkle and Tarot, which is one of my favorite things to do, I love the art and I love the immediate encapsulation of the energy that's happening or whatever question. But it's truly what's being invited is play. And so when I'm working with my inner child, it is about play because we lose our imagination because of the constructs of, like you have to be a grown up now. The imagination is for children, it's not for adults. And that is such a powerful tool, our imagination. And so over the last, I don't know, maybe 3 years, I've really been bringing imagination back in and really because there's this imagination, even working with your spirit guides or teams or talking with the other side, some may call it mediumship. But we all have these abilities, and we're not crazy and we're not silly and we're
yeah.
not childish. That is the power of our creation and connection to all things. So, I don't know. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that was perfect. I actually think I've gained a new perspective on um, inner child play. I like that. I never thought of it that way, and it actually feels lighter. It feels more
Mm.
inviting. It feels yeah, those two words come to mind. So I think I'm gonna incorporate that moving forward.
I'll share my first time where I connected with my little self. It was through a Louise Hay guided meditation. I cannot find it, but it was the most beautiful thing. And I love her work. In that guided meditation, she guided me to hold my little self. Imagine, shrink myself, my adult self, and put myself in my heart.
Mm,
And there were two phases. I'm holding myself, giving myself the love and the support that I felt I didn't get, and to provide that for myself. And I just bawled and bawled. Like it was so deep. It was mind blowing because I had no idea of how something that felt so silly could have such a profound shift in me. And once I did that, held my little self, and at different stages, then she invited me to hold my mother and to
mm,
give her the love and support that I observed that she, or energetically, that she needed, that she
mm,
didn't get.
mm,
And so it was, and I have revisited that, but I haven't in a long time. And that might be a good thing to do just to see where I'm at. I also gauge my relationship on how far, because when I first initiated the contact and the uh, the relationship, we had to establish trust. So my younger self had to trust that I was going to not only listen to her, but to act on what we discussed, what she was sharing with me. And so
mm.
that was an aspect of the healing as well. And even now it just seems so weird, but it works and it's
Mm.
powerful.
It sounds powerful. It sounds really powerful. If you find it, send it to me.
I have tried to look, but I will. Maybe spirit will guide me to it at this point, especially since we've had this conversation. What has this work allowed you to learn about yourself and what your true desires are, where you are now in your life?
Um, I think that most individuals who consider themselves in the healing arts space have done enough reflection, internal inner work to know that, first of all, they're not alone in the world, and that others are in need of the same thing that they themselves need. And I think it all starts with self. And looking back on how little support I received as a new mother, that kind of hit home when you add the statistics to um, maternal deaths, infant deaths, pregnancy related health issues, just in this country. We're not even talking about the whole planet, but just in this country alone, just in the city where I live. So I think I was called um, to fill a need that I was in need of. I was in need of the support that I'm actually providing right now. Um, so I don't. I'm still grappling with if I should say I chose it, because maybe deep down I did, but it doesn't feel like I chose it. I feel like I was called to it, and once I received the calling, I then began my obsession, then began my passion for it. And it took me quite a few years to realize that I can expand on what I had been doing. So I'm like, oh, wait, this is not all I can offer. So, in the past 2 years, I've been, preparing myself, little by little by little, day by day by day, um, so that I can do that very thing, expand, what I can offer to help with supporting maternal health. Um,
When I met you, you were transitioning into fitness. And before that, you had shared you were you got a degree for criminal law, uh,
Criminal justice. That
criminal
was
justice.
yeah. My bachelor's is criminology and criminal justice.
So that's how do you bring the holistic aspects of those parts of you into what you're doing now?
Well, yeah. So criminal justice. I worked for a law firm. I worked for nonprofits. I worked for the Department of Justice, and sometimes I still even consult for a small firm. But I realized that it was too not me. It was just that's was yeah. It was just too not me. But the skill set that I developed was transferable to any particular field. So I think that the skill set that I acquired was the point, not the degree in criminal justice. Even though I still find it valuable, and I have an understanding of certain things when I don't really pay attention to the news because that's just insanity. But I don't regret having taken that route. But then when I said, okay, this is so not me, let me take my skill set somewhere else. It happened, that's why I said it was a calling. Because, like, I ended up in maternal and infant health on the nonprofit side, using the same skill set that I had been using in criminal justice, which was data
Mm,
management, data analysis, statistics, data reporting, that kind of thing. And I
mm.
was like, oh, yes, this is so much more me. I mean, I have no idea what we're talking about, but this is way better, like just way better. And looking back, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, because there are very few people who are data analysts and actual practitioners within the same field. So I know what's
Mhm.
happening from a statistical standpoint, but I'm also touching the people that make up the statistics. So I have the best
Mm.
of both worlds. And I'm just like, oh yeah, this wasn't accidental at all, at all, at all, at all. So I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
I'm going to come back to this a little bit more, but a question popped in my mind is that as you're talking about maternal health and you as and then how you we began the conversation about relationships with partners, your father, then you had three sons.
I had three sons. I
Yeah.
sure did. I asked for three children. I wanted one of them to be a girl, but I'm actually glad they're all boys. Yep.
Have you noticed how having three sons became part of your curriculum for healing relationship with that male energy, with a masculine energy?
Um, yes. Um, I know I know what it feels like to not have a father in the household, but still have a relationship. And I didn't want that for them. I also know what it feels like to not have a couple role model of mom and dad in the house together. That's another thing. So I wanted that for them. Black male role models. I made sure they had black male role models. I just said the other day, if you have a goal and you can't even visualize it, good luck trying to get to it. You have to be able to see it or hear it or touch it or experience whatever it is you want. It just makes the journey that much more easy. That's the hard part. Seeing, having a view of where you're trying to go. It's okay, you don't know how to get there. That part is okay. But if you know exactly what you want at the end of that road or in the middle of the road, wherever, that's that's the easy part. So getting back, I would say yes. And I didn't plan it, but it always worked out this way. Whenever I drive them to school, there was always a sermon about something. It was always, and it not necessarily regarding relationships, like romantic relationships, but about anything. But some of that was kind of tied in there. So maybe subconsciously I knew that I had them trapped and they couldn't leave or anything. Not that they would leave if I was talking, but they can't go anywhere if I'm driving. So I would say yes. I would say yes. I'm not sure how much of an impact I made, but the awareness was there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Can you recall anything specific that you were able to bring the two together in your reflection, or as, some kind of download or meditation or a trigger? And so having a different face or a different response, or the love. I'm just trying to like piece things together or like brainstorm with you to get my question out. I guess from my perspective, I can share, maybe if I do it that way, then it will come through. For me also, I end up having two sons. Um, although
Although
I was
I was
raised with a stepfather till I was 10. And then my mom had different husbands, men in her life. I did find it very healing to have men in my life, boys, masculine energy, that I got a chance to have unconditional love. And even now, my youngest son, which is where I am now, he just had a baby. And so the relationship with him and his marriage, and even for me now, just I've never, like you were saying, modeling a coupled relationship. I've never been in a household or been in close proximity of any positive relationship that has its ups and downs, and different levels of growth at different times. And so witnessing that, I'm able to learn from my son and how he approaches things. I mean, even now, and he's 30. So I love being able to, I, I guess also it makes it, special that I'm able to learn from my child. And I got that from my mom. There's a lot of adults that are not, they're like, I'm the parent and you should do this and, listen to me. But that's not my approach at all. I'm very open to everyone, children, babies, my granddaughter as a teacher. So, yeah, just I guess coming from that perspective as our children or anyone mirroring us and being able to be a teacher at any given time. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I will have to say that one of my sons, he, I think he learned very early, and I just sat back and observed. I didn't pry. He learned very early um, um, how to how to end toxic relationships.
Mm,
He didn't feel obligated to stay. I don't think he was rude or disrespectful. He's not that type of person. And so me observing that and hey, I'm here if you need me. It was like you said, special. I was just in awe because I'm like, well, why couldn't I do that? You know, why can you come teach me how to do that? Um, and then when he was ready to talk, and I would say, well, what happened? Why'd you end it? And he was like, yeah, I don't have time for the foolishness. I was like, okay. I don't even think he had graduated high school yet.
mm,
And I was just like, wow. So I'm on the same I'm with you. Teach me. I came from parents that I'm the parent, you're the child, like literally that's what they would tell me.
hmm
And I respected it, but I didn't necessarily agree with it in secret, in silence, of course. So when I see my children display a certain type of behavior, whether if it's patience or just a great discernment or whatever it is, I'm just like, wow, I'm in awe of it,
mm.
especially when
That's-
it didn't come from me. I'm like, where'd you learn that? So,
yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah.
absolutely.
So coming back around to where you are now, and I'm super excited about, and I can feel your passion and your alignment with what you're doing and who you're becoming through this process of healing, supporting, working with moms. And it's so interesting too, because with my daughter-in-law, you know, I just learned so much. I had my kids in a hospital. I didn't want to take any type of medication or anything, but I was fortunate that my births were 2 hours hard labor and them boys came on out. Um, and I didn't have complications. I was able to nurse, but not every mom has that. I learned about the placenta and how it is an organ and it needs to stay with the baby. More of the purpose of that. So much of the hospital's protocol for inducing, just so many things. And she experienced a lot of issues where they pulled the placenta. She almost bled to death.
Mm.
So many things. And so the fact that you're in this field now and you're doing something that is different, your title, you're the belly therapist, how you started, how you got into that specific certification program you took. There's not a lot of people that do what you do. There are some physical therapists, but it's not at all like what you do. I would like you to share first how you found that certification program, what prompted that, just a little bit of that history and bringing you to now where you're about to go to Ecuador and take a class, and how that all is you're just finding things or the things are finding you, and it just lends itself to this expansion work that you're doing, and you're in school.
Yeah, it's intense. Well, so I I was a personal trainer. I was a group fitness instructor. It just seemed natural because my mother was very serious about exercise when I was little. Like, get up and at 5:30 before school, we're gonna go ride bikes or run or whatever, go swimming. She was very serious about eating healthy and exercising. So it just, I always exercised, I always worked out, I always danced, I always lifted weights, I always stretched. Like, that's just, that was life. It wasn't like, let me start this on Monday. It was just a part of my life. So I became personal trainer, just was a no brainer. And then I realized a lot of people were coming to me for the midsection. It's like, okay, this is serious. Like, men and women, they're coming to me for their midsection. Um, because I kind of incorporated not quite dance, but I try to be like, my creativity comes with movement, and it just happens to get you stronger. And so I took a year of my life and I researched the core, all the muscles, effective movements, ineffective movements, medical issues, in comes diastasis recti, which is abdominal muscle separation. And it's interesting because years before that, a girlfriend of mine said, "Oh, you know, you have a separation." I was like, "What you talking about?" She was a massage therapist and she was working on my psoas. My psoas was tight. And so she checked me. I didn't know what she was doing. She was just digging around in my guts. And she was like, "You know, you have separation between your ab muscles. It's called a diastasis." And I was like, "What?" And this was way before I became a personal trainer. So I didn't know what in the world she was talking about. So fast forward years later, I had it. I remember, it was a remembrance. And so in my year long study of the core, I was like, well, wait a minute. If people are coming to me to strengthen and flatten their midsection, and they happen to have abdominal muscle separation, then the training itself is not really going to fix it. There needs to be a specialized training to fix it, and then we can go back to the regular personal training. So then I'm like, okay, well, how do we fix it? So then I started looking all over the planet, Australia, England, everywhere. I'm looking everywhere for something specifically for this medical condition. Nothing to do with fat, nothing to do with diet, nothing to do with exercising, specifically for this treatment. And I found a few, and one really spoke to me. And because it's new, I guess I was skeptical, and I'm like, well, let me try it on me first. So I looked up a local practitioner near me and I went to her. And I'm like, you know what? Just in case, let me take a picture of my midsection. Let me just take a picture every week at the end of the week, just in case this works. Thank God I did that. Thank God I did that, because it did work. And I literally, before the first week was over, I wasn't constipated anymore and I wasn't bloated anymore. And I started to see results and I started to feel, and when I say results, meaning not that I had a big stomach, but it got flatter. And I've never really had lower back pain or any of the other symptoms that come with abdominal muscle separation. But I just started to feel stronger, which was weird because I'm usually feeling stronger if I do a plank or if I'm lifting weights or deadlifts or something. But this was internal work, this wasn't external work by using the breath. So I said, all right, let me sign up for this. And at that time, I had just the right amount of money sitting in my bank account. And I took it, I snatched it up and I gave it to the lady. And I took the 6-month program, and that certification became the foundation of my belly therapy program. I did a little bit of additions and takeaways from the certification to kind of create my own based on the demographic that I was serving. And so I've been doing that for 5 years, and it's been great. It's been amazing. I've done one on ones, I've done groups, I've done in person, I've done online. I've given numerous presentations, and then Spirit was like, "Okay, this is great, but keep going." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Well, how do I keep going? There's certain information that I need, and I don't want to have to be a certain level of discipline to get that information. For example, I don't want to build my own curriculum to get the information. I want somebody to take care of the curriculum and I just show up and learn. In other words, go to school." So I said, all right, well, what would be the best case scenario at my age? Because that is a factor. I don't want to be 78 and now I can practice medicine. I don't want to do that. So I still am going to be a doctor, but I'll be a doctor of physical therapy. So I decided I will go to physical therapy school. Well, what's required to apply to physical therapy school? So there are 10 among a trillion things, but there are 10 classes that I have to have as prerequisites in order to just apply. And I was like, okay, great. And then I looked at the list and I already had half of them from the criminal justice degree and my master's. Between those two degrees, I already had half of the prereqs. So I enrolled at the local community college, and at my age, with all the responsibilities that I have, I'm just going to take one class a semester. I'm gonna just nice and easy. I'm not going to burn myself out. And that's exactly what I did. And this coming fall, it will be my last prereq class that I'll be completing. And my application is about 85% done, and it just opened not even a month ago. So in about a month, I'll submit my application, and I know I'm going to get in. I already know it, so I'm very relaxed about it. But in addition to that, I still wanted more of an integrated program with various pieces from different cultures enmeshed into my program. In comes the Indigenous belly binding workshop in San Diego, which was our first go at the podcast interviewing. So that belly binding workshop was amazing. And then I took, before that, I took a fascial release workshop. That was absolutely amazing, mind blowing. Like that work is like so sacred. Even though I'm laying hands on people, I am receiving just as much as I'm giving. That work is really powerful. We actually had a partner friend of mine. We had our third event called Sound and Somatic Therapy yesterday, and that was very special, very very special. Where I'm doing the fascial release body work, and she's doing the sound bathing at the same time. So if I'm on the heart chakra, she's on the heart chakra sound bowl. Um, so that was powerful. And then in about 48 hours, I will be halfway to Ecuador. I'm going to go to Ecuador for a week and a half, and I'm going to study under the Indigenous midwives in Cotacachi, which is about 50 miles north of the capital, Quito. And I'm going to be learning about their pregnancy and postpartum healing practices. There are going to be various ceremonies and just different experiences. We're doing a sweat lodge. There's a place called, I can't remember how you say it in Spanish, and this is full immersion. 100%, I'm bilingual, so it's full immersion in Spanish, and Quechua is the indigenous native language. I don't know Quechua, but we're going to figure it out. And there's a place called the Center of the Earth, apparently, there, where you literally can stand and they consider it the center of the earth. I can't remember how you say it in Spanish, but so there are going to be a lot of different outings and ceremonies and teaching of indigenous practices that have been passed down literally for thousands of years. So I'm very excited to go. First time in Ecuador. I'm excited, but I'm also a little nervous. So that's where we are right now.
What is it about this particular 10 days immersion that feels aligned with what you're doing medically? Like this is indigenous, and then you have it starts with an
Allopathic.
A.
Well,
Allopathic?
the Western medicine is more allopathic. Yeah.
Yeah, allopathic. So you're essentially bridging two two things. What what about that feels really important or aligned with you?
Well, I mean, the reality is because I live in the United States, there are things that must be adhered to, certain requirements and policies and regulations, credentials being one of them. If you are recognized to have a doctorate in something, then that kind of quote unquote bumps you up a few levels. And if you don't, then somehow that bumps you down. So I think having a quote unquote anchor in Western uh, practice opens doors and access to a lot, and that needs to be recognized. Even though there are a lot of things that probably will fall off once I'm done with school that I probably won't implement, but just having the quote unquote the anchor of the credentials and the knowledge, I think is super important and significant in my journey. But also, like you said, bridging, integrating, blending that with indigenous practices, I think is very powerful. I don't think clearly there's a pattern here. I like to be in a space where there are not a lot of people doing it. So I think it will also help me stand out. I also want to go either to Tanzania or South Africa for a similar program. Just, I'm kind of in this exploration, trying to get the full picture from different perspectives. I don't believe one culture is better than the other. I just think that the longer the group of people have been living on the planet, chances are they figured some shit out. They've done a lot of trial and error and they figured out what works best. And I'm just honored to be able to learn from the many mistakes that probably were made and perfected and integrating it now into modern day society. I think we need more of the indigenous ways practiced more, but I think the blending is a powerful thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like that's actually where we are now with to shift a little bit with technology where the planet is right now. Um, the uh, incline of people calling themselves shamans, it has benefit. And there may be an imbalance in certain spiritual communities or spiritual bypassing, spiritual ego, and things like that. But all in all, it is raising the vibration, the awareness, the awakening of people and the seekers. The level of seekers is, I feel we are reaching a tipping point, and where it is necessary for us to bridge. And that is the holistic way of nature, of being, and that's who we are. So when I look at the world, it feels definitely like I know my soul wanted to be here for that reason. I mean, shit is hitting the fan, but also there's a in sound my my teacher, Dr. John Ballou, in class, he explained that he used a demonstration from scientists where sacred geometry, the sand on a platform, you play a certain frequency and then you introduce it to another frequency. And during the transition of the two frequencies being introduced, it's called chaos. So the sand, the particles on the plate become disorganized, and so eventually they reorganize into sacred geometry different from what the previous frequency was. And so that was mind blowing to me. And that's what it feels like.
Mm,
Like the chaos that's happening, that's the shift into a different frequency. And so on a soul level, I'm excited about that. And I'm glad to be here for it. And so this podcast is part of, I feel, my part in it, my role, at least right now. And that leads me to, Fireside Alchemy. To me, I want more fire circles.
mm,
And that was a practice and community where the wisdom was shared, the stories were shared, the dancing took place.
mm,
And so this is metaphorically my vision for this podcast. And
mm.
so, anyway, I have three questions for you.
Okay.
So, what would your inner fire tell you right now? What would its advice or wisdom be for you right now?
Um, Relax and um, yeah, I would say relax.
What does
Um,
that mean? Give us the insight.
you ever see someone who it's like relax, like drop your shoulders and just take a deep breath. I've noticed that my shallow breathing pops up every so often that I can that I'm aware of it. I'm sure it's happening way more than I'm aware of it, but there are moments where I'm like, literally, I'm just driving, nothing happened other than I don't have a lot of oxygen coming in or out of my body. And that's a problem. That's a problem. So I think I would actually change it from relax to take a deep breath, breathe. I think it would be that. And it's not because um, I'm uptight or tense. I think it's, or maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe there's so much that I'm preparing for that I need to just wait, and just take a deep breath and then carry my breath as I'm preparing for all of these different things. Sometimes it's almost like I forget to breathe.
Mm,
I want to take it with me. I don't want to have to set aside time to breathe. I want to take it with me.
mhm.
So I would say breathe. Yeah.
Beautiful. What are you dreaming the world to be? What is your vision? What are you holding for us?
Um, so you asked me this question before, and I said where there's a world where mothers don't have to heal from childbirth. But I like your excitement for the chaos in the in between, in the in the in between, in the shift, in the shifting. So I envision a world real time where more people are excited
Hmm.
instead of repelled and resistant
Mm-hmm.
to where we are. I think even that little bit will change the dynamic. Just accepting and even being excited about where we are as opposed to pushing it away in some way, in some capacity. I think I would agree with you.
I've noticed that a lot of, maybe not a lot, but there are folks that are speaking to that work in terms of using ourself, because it starts with ourself, and looking at where we are resisting. It's doing the shadow work.
Mm.
And we all do have a tendency, our human nature is to get out of the situation, like get through it or bypass it, not even deal with it, but just not feeling the uncomfortableness of sitting in something to have the acceptance. And my goodness, that is a lot of practice to be able to. I mean, even now, I have to remind myself, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm resisting. Let me, how can I relax? How can I breathe into this to allow space for acceptance? I never knew what people would say, lean into it. I'm like, what the fuck does lean into it mean? Lean in, like, you but now I get it, because you want to, when you're leaning into someone or something, this is my interpretation, you're trying to absorb it all. You're leaning in, you're listening, your full attention is being given. And so leaning into the shadow and the uncomfortable spaces, and there's so many times, even during the day, that I can find myself in the awareness of wanting to get through something, even even as simple as standing in a line or driving or whatever it is, waiting for my food to, because I'm not microwaving my food, so now I'm getting the pan out, like
Mhm.
just taking the time to do whatever it is. And so the last question would be, what advice or what suggestion, what thing would your inner child share with you at this point in your life?
What is one thing my inner child would share with me at this point in my life?
Hmm.
I'm so fucking proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You making us look good, girl. Keep going.
I
That's
love
what
that.
she would say.
What would you say to her?
Um, I would say, um, everything's gonna be great. It's okay. It's all okay. You're safe.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, that is all my three questions. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we initially talked about, or anything maybe you want to share from your journey and the way you've alchemized any tools. That's one of my questions. What would you offer to listeners who are beginning or alchemizing, working through old stuff, changing the narrative of their story into the wisdom that gives us information and allows us tools to go forward.
The question is how to work through the old stuff to change the narrative to move forward.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think awareness is always the first step, being aware that there's something, an issue, a memory, a feeling, a story that we believe is true, or I should say that we think is true, but but it's not true. I think awareness of that is the first step. And it's going to be snotty. It's not going to be a field of lavender and daisies. It's going to be snotty. I don't know who came up with the idea of, healing is this I don't know. But so awareness, acceptance, then acceptance without judgment, and acceptance without judgment or shame. And I would say, a lot of people recommend journaling. I tend not to journal because my brain processes things super fast. So by the time I go get the journal, I've solved the issue, but everyone's not like me. I have a trillion journals around here, but journaling is I hear it's a good thing. Um, Always, I would also recommend when you figure out how old your inner child is, and it's usually around the age of when something traumatic happened, and that looks different for everyone. It could, even if it was a misunderstanding, if it was traumatizing to you, then that's the age it is for you. Find a picture of yourself at that age and put it on your nightstand or put it on the home screen of your phone and start to develop a healthier relationship or relationship with that version of you, because that version of you still exists. And, treat that version of yourself as if it really exists. And I think a lot of progress will be made just from that, because I guarantee 99% of a lot of our issues come from that version of ourselves. Not yesterday's version, not 10 years ago, but the version of ourselves before we turn the age 10 in general. And just start to cultivate that relationship with your inner child. And when there are triggers or flare ups, sit with it. I've been practicing being comfortable in uncomfortable moments, in uncomfortable situations. And I'm not going to lie, I hated it in the beginning, but the more I did it, the less time it took to get through it, and the less it happened. So the more I leaned in, the less it happened and the less time it took. So I would say just sit with it, let it flow through you.
But
Let
how
it
do you
flow.
get to that point? I think that's the tricky point, to be able to sit with it and lean into it.
Literally on the side of your bed, literally, like literally sit. And if you have to cry, cry. If you have to turn over and punch the pillow, but literally just sit in the discomfort. Don't distract yourself, because on the other side of the distraction is just going to be the tail end of it. So it's just better to just walk through the fire and sit in that intense, intense, intense moment, because the first time you do it, it might be 10 minutes. The second time you do it, it might be 8 minutes. The next time you do it, it might be 5 minutes. The next time you do it, it might be 2 minutes. The next time you do it, you might not even have to sit. It's in this conversation you're having with somebody else, and you might be like, Oh no, they didn't. Okay, that's my inner child. You good? You good? Okay, we good. Okay, and you just carry on with the conversation. You know what I mean? Like that inner dialogue where you don't even need to sit. It's just an awareness. But practice sitting.
Yeah.
It's the
I love it.
simplest things are the hardest things. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be complicated. It's like we want to complicate things. Like it can't be that simple as to just sitting.
You mean I don't have to spend $10,000 for a weekend retreat
You
and
s-
pay for my
you
sovereignty?
look. You come pay $10,000 to me, and I'll sit next to you. No, we humans want to complicate things so much. We all do. We want to it can't possibly be as simple as just sitting or standing.
Right. Right.
I tend to feel a little more grounded if I lie on the floor in one of those moments. If I just lie on the floor, the pushback from the ground is very comforting.
Hmm.
So that's also an option.
You know what I just did? Speaking of grounding, I have, wherever I've been traveling, I will ask maybe a stone or the rocks or just the elements when I'm walking what wants to come home with me or what message is for me. I walk like it's a living oracle. So I get these stones and I buy crystals too. But I've been holding them in my, I've had one crystal in my hand and one stone in the other hand. And I was like, wow, why am I just now doing this? Because if I'm not able to get out per se,
Mm,
especially being in Las Vegas, it's hot as hell. I'm landlocked basically. To feel that in my hands, and that is a new thing for me specifically.
mm,
Just wanted to share that.
okay, that's lovely.
Yeah,
That's lovely.
thanks. For us right now, we've come so far in our journey. We can look back and be proud of ourselves, and this is that is one thing also I want to share is it's taken me a while to be proud of myself, to
Mm,
really look back and say, "Oh, I have come through a lot. I am proud of myself." And to celebrate my little wins. I prefer to I I label it that way, but it's also a practice of gratitude because I felt like I was now granted I can be grateful for the mundane always, but just to take it a step further and to be more excited within the gratitude is a new practice that I'm having, and to allow myself to really celebrate the smallest tiniest things. I couldn't even think of those things before. My mind, my brain, my heart, my myself, wouldn't even allow myself those small things because I would poo-poo it. But now in that
mm,
practice, I am, yeah, just feeling a lot better and more accepting of myself, even in the small things. So I like what you said, what your inner child said to you.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah.
Was there anything that you would like to add to close this discussion, this conversation?
Um, the last thing you said about gratitude, I completely agree. And I just wanted to add to that the moments of joy, I would say, um, I'll just stop. It's nothing in particular, just that I exist and I
Mm,
can see that bird, land on top of the house, or the blade of grass is blowing in the wind. I mean, anything. And just stopping and just smiling at life and how nature is going on about its business and that neighbor is going on about her business. And I've been finding those more, and they're starting to tickle me. It's like, oh my
mhm.
God, it feels great. This is, and it also gives me a moment to breathe. So I just wanted to add that to the gratitude piece. I think it's important. I think that success in any part of our lives, I think one of the anchors is gratitude. It's easy to complain and bitch and moan, but when you use gratitude as a genuine, authentic tool, it can be it can manifest, it can help you manifest things. That's been my experience. To close, I'm just grateful to have shared this time with you with Fireside Alchemy and Sophia, and I'm just I'm just excited about the present moment. That's all I have. I have thoughts of what's going to happen in the future, and I'm excited about those too. And I just feel I feel like I can calm down. I feel like I don't have to figure anything out anymore. I was always in a state of strategizing and trying to figure out, and okay, what this and what this and what this, and I was spending all of that energy in the wrong place. It was like trying to figure out how to do something with my nose to the mirror,
Mm,
as opposed to backing up and seeing where the hell I want to go. So once I figured out where I want to go, it was almost like poof, all the obstacles literally just like disintegrated, and I didn't have to do anything. It was it was almost like a light switch, or like night and day, or just like literally spontaneous. Like I had to do nothing. So all of that, me trying to manipulate and maneuver and strategize and do this and figure out, and I did that for like almost 5 years. And then when I sat my ass down and I'm like, wait, what? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I don't understand. Like, okay, what do you want? And literally, the path was shown. Literally.
I almost feel like the blueprint within us, it's there. For me, I can speak for myself that I resisted, like even this platform resisted. But once I recommit to the thing that's presented, like you said, I feel that same thing, the opening up and the direction, the information, the people show up. Everything begins to be aligned. And same in terms of pushing, trying to figure it out. Oh, I have this goal. I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do. And now it's not about me. It's about me playing the role that I came here to play and contribute in the best way that my gifts are to be utilized as the integration for the time that we're living in. And it happens to align with my whole story, my whole life's earth school curriculum, from the parents, the family that I was born into, all of the different places and careers and interests that I've had. It's all come to a point where, like you were saying, those skills become transferable and create something different and unique that only you can offer. And yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
It's a good place. If I want to be careful about even saying the word good. It just feels aligned, and I do feel joyful and grateful. That's what I'll say.
Ashe.
Well, if anyone wants to reach out to the belly therapist, all of the information will be attached or connected to this episode on the website. So, is there anything you want to say to someone that might be interested in what you do?
Sure. I help with fascial release. And I also help with diastasis recti, which is abdominal muscle separation. My focus is on postpartum community. So if you have just given birth and your midsection is not feeling so hot, whether that's bloating, constipation, stubborn belly, urinary incontinence, tight hips, lower back pain, you can reach out to me, and I offer free 15-minute complimentary consultations, and we can talk it out and see how I can help.
Beautiful. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you. And yeah, I wish I was closer so I could do some of those sound companion workshops. But
Oh,
that is so beautiful. I love it. All right. Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Likewise.
Peace.